What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host, Caleb. If you want to support me, you can now follow me on Patreon. Not only is it the best way to help out the channel, additionally, you'll get more say in what decks I cover. Special shout out to all of my high contributing patrons. Newsome, you rock. Additionally, you can always use that TCGplayer link in the description down below if you want to help me out. Now, let's get into today's Precon upgrade with Blood Rites, and I absolutely love this commander. You want to sacrifice your useless vampires for bigger demon vampires. I'm game, right? And honestly, this is not a terrible precon right out of the box. We do want to add a little bit more card draw and a little bit more ramp to get those categories to where I'm comfortable with them, but we can kind of get by with a little less card draw since we do have card advantage in the command zone with our commander. Additionally, we are going to add a little bit more useful vampires. There's a lot of fodder vampires in the deck, which you really want fodder vampires, but I want to be getting more value out of my fodder vampires, so we're going to add a little bit more high quality cards while keeping it budget. But notably, I will be including some non-budget options at the end of the budget precon upgrade, so make sure you stay tuned for that, and let's get into this precon upgrade. Bloodline Keeper is going to be amazing in this deck. Now, this card will usually set you back like $15, but if you're looking at the cute to brute version specifically, there are listings right now for $450 and below. Additionally, this is a bomb in the deck. It's going to be very easy to flip this guy over, and once you do, not only is he going to buff all of your vampires, making your 4/3 vampires 6/5 vampires, that's going to be big, as well as he just creates a board state while buffing your board state. It's an amazing card in the deck. Edgar Charmed Groom is going to be another solid card. He's going to be easy to sacrifice, then he flips over and starts making us fodder. That way we can sacrifice them to our commander to draw cards and create more of those giant vampire tokens, and then he flips back over and starts buffing our board again. Necropolis Region is amazing. People sleep on this card, but you're basically doubling your power every time you deal combat damage. So if nobody has flyer blockers, those 4/3s are going to turn into 8/7s really fast, and they're just going to get more insane from there. This can really turn your board into a lethal board state really fast if they don't remove it immediately. Veto, not only is this guy kind of like Black's best version of Trample because we're going to get our damage through no matter what. Additionally, they included Exquisite Blood in the deck with no way for Exquisite Blood to go infinite. So Exquisite Blood just gains you a ton of life. But now if we activate Veto, we can present an infinite loop where we damage everybody to death. So it's going to be solid for both killing players and going infinite and killing players. You gotta love it. Disciple of Bolas. I really just wanted a recurable piece that can get us some solid card advantage. We are making some pretty massive vampires in the deck, so it's going to be solid to just slam this on the battlefield, sacrifice one and draw 4 cards, and then again the recursion in the deck is pretty solid already, so we're going to be able to consistently do that as long as we can keep bending this and recurring this, which again you can definitely do in this deck. Marshland Bloodcaster. Hey, we've got some expensive bombs in the deck, so being able to spend 2 mana to just throw those onto the battlefield for essentially free, I mean, yes, we are paying our life, but it's free in this deck with all the life gain synergies we have, is going to be very efficient. Now, our region over here, instead of 6 mana, is just 2 mana and 6 life. I like that. Phyrexian Arena, again, just a solid form of consistent card advantage, comes down early, people really don't get rid of it, they let it set, and you know, you're just going to be more solid for the rest of the game, having more options. Priest of Forgotten Gods, also pretty solid here. Again, there's a lot of very expensive cards in the deck, or not a lot, but enough. And this is going to not only give us a boost in mana, it's going to give us some card advantage on top of that. Skull Clamp's just amazing. Whatever vampire you choose to, you know, get half demon for the end of turn, you can just Skull Clamp it instead of sacrificing it, and then you're drawing 2 cards, and then your commander lets you draw another card, and then you get that giant fat vampire. I dig it. Fellowar Stone, just a solid form of ramp, and then Wand of the World Soul. I think this card's kind of underrated, especially in decks that want to go really wide, and this deck does want to go really wide. So now we can give our expensive spells Convoke and basically throw them on the battlefield for free. This is going to be amazing in the deck. Moving on to our non-budget options, we have Black Market Connections. This card's going to be amazing. You get card advantage, you get a little bit of ramp, and you also get a vampire. Remember that token you create is a changeling, so it is every creature type, so we have tribal synergies with card advantage and ramp. This card's amazing in your tribal decks. Cathar's Crusade is also going to be an amazing include. Yes, this deck goes super wide, and Cathar's Crusade can kind of be annoying to keep up with, but it's super powerful at the same time. Dark Prophecy, just solid. Every time one of those creatures dies, whether it's a token or not, you're going to get a card. I like it. Rodolph Duskbringer is just going to be a solid form of recursion. He's a vampire, so we're solid there. He's got lifelink, so he enables the recursion by himself. And again, we can probably make this guy pretty massive in this deck, and already we're getting solid recursion off of him, so he's just going to be a solid include. Moving on to the cuts, people are going to hate me for this, but I cut the Blood Artist effects. Yes, Blood Artist, Cruel Celebrant, and Falconwrath Noble. Now let me explain myself. This deck does sacrifice a lot of creatures, but it sacrifices those creatures while making bigger creatures. So I really want to lean into the fact that we're making giant creatures and try to kill people through combat damage. That's why we went through and added stuff like Vito, Bloodline Keeper, and Edgar. Now our vampires are bigger and they're ready to smash face. On top of that, our commander does make some pretty big vampires. I know it does seem kind of slow, but a 4/3 every turn is not something to scoff at, especially when we have a lot of ways to buff it up in the deck. So in short, I'd kind of just want a different commander if we were going for the aristocrats strategy, if that makes sense. Dusk Legion Zealot, Martyr of Dusk, and Nighthawk Scavenger are just kind of vanilla creatures. Yes, I know Nighthawk has the ability to gain us life and be pretty big, but again, it's kind of a vanilla creature in the deck and doesn't really further our game plan. Martyr of Dusk is just a creature that dies and then you get another vampire creature, so it is a fodder creature, but again, I'd rather just a creature that's better fodder like Edgar, right? This guy dies and creates a lot of vampires for us to sack, and then even flips back over and starts buffing our vampires. And then Dusk Legion Zealot, again, it's just a vampire to sack. Sorin's going to be an easy cut for me. You're probably going to play this guy -2 him. Yes, you'll get the emblem, but he's going to die immediately after. So I think there's just better things we could be doing for 4 mana in this deck. Oathsworn Vampire seems pretty solid on paper, but he's also just kind of slow. Yes, you got to cast him from your graveyard. He enters tapped, so you can't even attack with him that turn, so he's just a big setup card that sets you up for next turn, and you can do that consistently, but again, I just want more consistent fodder creatures instead of something that I have to cast every turn. That's going to eat up 2 black mana every turn, so I really just want something I can throw on the battlefield, forget about, and have constant fodder. Commander Sphere is going to get a cut here. We added more efficient ramp with Felwar Stone, Radiant Destiny, a 3 mana anthem that gives them vigilance. I'm not that into it. Temple of the False God, I'm definitely not on this card. You will constantly get this in your opener and it will constantly be useless. Moving on to the non-budget option cuts, we are cutting Baby Alinda. Yes, it's pretty efficient in the deck, but with the non-budget options we are adding, I think they are more efficient. We are also giving Phyrexian Arena the axe. Hey, if we're adding black market connections, we don't need Phyrexian Arena. Bloodline Necromancer, we're adding more efficient recursion, so we can cut this guy, and then my man Bart here is also getting the cut for being one of the least efficient sack outlets in the deck. That's going to do it for the Precon upgrade, guys. Hey, if you've got some suggestions for this Precon, make sure to leave them in the comments down below. As always, I would like to thank my high contributing Patreons, Newsome and Chicken Salad 90, you guys are amazing. I couldn't do it without you, as well as all of my other Patreons. You guys are awesome. As always, I hope this helped in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you guys in the next one.